Hey quilting friends, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber here. You can find me at alwaysexpectmore.com and as Craftmore on most social media. But today we are doing the Mini Quilt Advent Calendar. This has been so much fun. We're on day 9 today. That's right, day 9. And I'm so excited. This is a really fun shape today. I don't want to give anything away, so if you're joining along, go ahead and open up your envelope now if you haven't already. Okay, so you should have your envelope open and found this tiny cute little shape. I mean, like how cute is this, right? It is a 3/4 inch finished square, and I know that sounds tiny, and it's not big, is it for sure, but we're making a 3-inch finished ornaments. Remember, these finish at 3 inches, and so this gets a lot of dimension into our little 3-inch finished space. So this is our 3/4 inch square. So much fun with this, and we're just gonna go ahead and get started making our ornament today. So we have our 2-color or our fussy cut. We're gonna start with our 2-color. And this one, actually, if you wanted to fussy cut, you totally could, because look, those little presents fit perfectly in that 3/4 inch square, and you can fit that tree perfectly in that 3/4 inch square. So you could just go ahead and cut all the way around and cut your pieces. You need 8 of each, yes, 8 of each. And so you could just go ahead and cut and cut. I'm not going to do that because I want to show you that they look really cute, not fussy cut. I know I've been tempted and have given in to fussy cutting quite a few of these two-tone blocks, but we don't need to. All right, let me make this a little less wasteful. There we go. All right, you can accordion fold, or I just roll folded 4 layers. I need a total of 8, so I'm going to cut twice. I could maybe try to stack 8, but that's a lot of fabric. I don't do 8. 4 is a good number to stack. I mean, 6 if I really, really have to. 8's a little crazy. Okay, and I did overcut here, so I'm just avoiding my overcut. That's why I've got such a big gap here. You don't need that big a gap if you didn't have any overcut on yours. And you want to go slow when cutting this one, and be careful because it is small and you don't want to catch your fingers with a rotary cutter. You want to keep all your fingers whole. So there are my 8 little pieces. Now let's do 8 with this one. There we go. And you can see I already have my little adhesive dot on here. Those are available in the shop if you want to have the adhesive dots. Those just provide a non-slip grip to the bottom of your ruler. So there are some rulers that come with like a non-slip grip already on there, and a lot of custom templates that are made nowadays don't have that non-slip grip on there. So if you want the non-slip, then you just add little grippy dots. So that's what I've done here. I just added 1 big grippy dot. All right, avoiding my overcuts. There we go. So there I have 8 of each. Before I start sewing, I'm going to go ahead and cut my fussy cut fabrics. And I know that these 2 fabrics are really great for fussy cutting, but like what if I did We haven't used this fabric that much, and so here's what I'm thinking for this one. Something totally crazy and different. I'm going to cut 8 ornaments and 8 backgrounds. So the entire block is made from one fabric, just fussy cutting the different spots and putting it back together to look different. Crazy, yes, I think. And then when you're cutting, don't worry about these edges that are showing up. Like this one's really small. I just need to make sure that the entire motif is fitting inside the lines, that's the seam allowance. So it shows where the seam allowance is. If I've got something in the seam allowance, it's not going to show up in my finished piece. So I just need to make sure that it's not in the inside square. There we go. So just to cut 8 like this and then 8 of the background. Now while I'm cutting, and I could just go ahead and speed this up, but instead I want to talk to you about something that we haven't talked about here yet, and that is the little holes that are on all these pieces. And we didn't talk about those at all because I don't do a lot of hand sewing. And those holes are really designed to help people who hand sew, because what you can do is you can take a mechanical pencil and just tuck it down. Let me close my rotary cutter. You can just tuck the little point down in there and make a little dot in each corner on the back of your fabric, and then you know where your corners are on your seams when you're hand sewing. Also, and I don't know, maybe I'll do this later or another time, but you can use those on paper. So you can mark those dots on like cardstock and then cut dot to dot to make the shape, and then you'll have the size of the finished shape, and then you can actually English paper piece everything. So you can do this English paper piecing style by setting this down on your cardstock, marking the 4 corners, drawing those, cutting those out, and then you have your English paper pieced piece. And that's also really fun. Something different, depending on how you want to do it. These weren't designed to necessarily be English paper pieced, but we wanted to make them as versatile as possible. So you can fussy cut with them, you can not fussy cut with them, you can hand sew with them, and if you really want to slow stitch during the holiday season, you can English paper piece. Okay, so I have 4 done already, and you can see I definitely have some red in my seam allowance because of the parts of these ornaments that I want to grab. I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the rest really quick. There we go. I have everything all cut out and I'm ready to start sewing them together. Now you can go ahead and lay everything out, but since none of my pieces are directional, I just know I need to sew them into 4 rows that are every other. So dark, light, and then I'll just flip 2 of the rows. And I'll show you what that looks like as I put it together. So this time I'm not going to lay it out and then piece it and show you, because you don't have to do that with every kind of block. And sometimes you just want to get to sewing, which is what I want to do today. So let's go ahead and get to sewing. So I already set a background on top of each. And I guess I was wrong. Some of these are directional, but you know what? If they end up sideways or upside down, I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave that last one on there, because sometimes when you're sewing, especially if you haven't changed your needle in a minute, you'll get the fabric sucked in on the first of the next set of stitching. So by leaving that in there, I don't have to worry about it getting sucked in. And I'm just cutting these all apart. There we go. And now I'm going to sew them into pairs. So these are actually two of my directional ones. I just happen to pick them up at the same time, which is fine. And so I'm going to keep these directional, but I'm just stitching a light and a dark together, pairing them up. And so I'm going to turn sets of 2 into sets of 4. And I'm going to make sure that I cut this last one off, because otherwise I'm going to be confused at the end and wonder, what did I do? Where did I misplace that last set? And again, light and dark together. This one I'm not worried about directional. If you were worried about directional, you would just lay it out and double check. Okay. Do those look right? Yes, they do. Now let me sew them together. All right, I have my 4 rows for each block that I'm making. I just clip these apart. There we go. And now we're going to press every single one to the dark, which means in on this one and out on that one and in on this one. These little pieces. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and press all of them towards the dark. Okay, there we go. And I've already laid these out so that you can see dark light, dark light. This one is actually upside down, but so is that one. So they'll end up being right side up in the end. Same here. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn these 90 degrees like this, and that just makes it easier for me to pick them up as I'm sewing. So I'm going to grab these two, bring them over to my sewing machine, and because everything is pressed towards the dark, if I did it right, then everything here, these seams will just nest, and that way I'll get perfect points. And you can feel it when seams nest together like that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay these out a little bit because I did have a directional-ish here. I think by the time it gets sewn together, you won't even tell that it's directional. But those two, yep, are going to go together. And now also want to make sure that I'm doing light, dark, light. So now I have these. Ah, see, even not at all fussy cut, that looks so totally cute. And this one with those little fussy cuts, you can see on these two, you can't tell as much on all the ones on the edge, but you can see on these two that you can't see any of those seam allowance edges. So now you have a choice of how you want to press. I go ahead and just press all in one direction. Oh, there we go. Mostly one direction. That one wanted to press the other way today. That's okay. There we go. Oh, how cute is that? All right, let me go ahead and press this other one. There we go. both of our blocks are done. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those down below. If you want to join the Mini Quilt Advent and you haven't, go ahead and check the link, see if there's any left, and get yourself a kit. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I will see you tomorrow.